Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I'm Nayanika and I talk about books, and today I'm going to share the books that I read in the month of February. So February was a pretty busy month, and so I'm surprised at the amount of reading I did. It is actually still February now, but I don't think I'll read any more books in the next couple of days because I have got a lot of things planned, mostly work related. So I think this is the appropriate time to film this wrap-up video. So these are all the books I ended up reading in February, and without further ado, I'm gonna dive right in and tell you what I felt about them. So in a chronological order, I'll share the books with you all. So the first book that I read in February is Persepolis. This version contains both the two parts. So the first part is the story of a childhood and part 2 is the story of a return. This is Marjane Satrapi's autobiography. You could say it is a graphic novel in which she portrays her life after she grows up in Iran and to her life in in Europe as she grows up in her teenage years. This is a brilliant book. I have previously read Marjane Satrapi's book Embroideries, and I really liked that. People describe it as Sex and the City but based in Iran. It's about the inner lives of the women of Iran. This is similarly about very much more specific about Marjane and her life, how she grew up in a society that was slowly becoming more and more conservative, while at home her parents were pretty liberal, and how she deals with that juxtaposition of values inside the house and outside. This deals with a lot of things in a very interesting light because we see the world which is constantly changing politically from a child's innocent point of view. So she puts forth these questions, and she basically gets her answers from her parents, from society, and all of that. So it's in a way was also educational for me because I do not know much about Iran's history, sadly. So this was quite interesting in that, and overall it was more or less a quick read, although I tried to read it slowly. I think I took 4 or 5 days to read it because since it is a graphic novel, you do kind of read it fast, but at the same time I really wanted to savor it. This is also a Bildungsroman, which means that you see a person's coming of age in a way. Really interesting. I am definitely going to read this again very soon. Not soon exactly, but maybe after 6 months. This is a book that I would like to return to, and I would definitely recommend this book to you. I have seen that a lot of college or universities have this book in their syllabus, which is rightly so. We had this, no, we had Embroideries. So it was a great way for me to get introduced to this author, and I would definitely recommend you to read this book. So moving on, I will talk about this trilogy that I read. It is okay, so book 1 is Once Upon a Broken Heart. Then we have The Ballad of Never After, and lastly we have A Curse for True Love. So in this book we follow this girl called Evangeline Fox, who basically makes a deal with the Prince of Hearts to be with the one person she loves. But from then on, from book 1 to book 3, we go into such a whirlwind adventure that you did not at all, I could not have expected any of that in the beginning. Now I have very mixed feelings about this book series because I feel the author tries every trope that is out there in one. We kind of have enemies to lovers, we kind of have the one bed trope, we kind of have a love triangle sort of thing, forbidden lovers, all of that. And it's on the one hand very interesting if you're going into it naively or if you are going into it without a critical eye. But yeah, I did feel like we did not get to see a lot of Evangeline Fox's depth of character, even though she is the main principal character. It seemed like her whole personality was her magical rose gold hair, and that was it. I would have really enjoyed to see more of her depth in terms of a character, which could have been done better. But I do have to say that this was a pretty quick read. I read the series in just 1 week, I think 1 week or 1.5 weeks. I mean, and considering how busy life is, this is pretty quick. So yeah, this was very catchy, very addictive. So this was a fast-paced read that I would definitely recommend you to read. But yes, go in without expecting a lot, because there are so many issues with this book. It's not really very well written, but from the enjoyment point of view, it is pretty good. So yeah, and the romance is very complicated, kind of. I did not see a lot of chemistry, so that was very abrupt, to be very honest. But anyway, enjoyable, and that was what I was looking for at the moment, some sort of romantasy. So this book series fulfilled my need at that moment, so I have to say that I did enjoy it. So that's it for these books. Next, I picked up Simple Passion by Annie Ernaux. Now, I picked up this book at the book fair, I think at the Penguin stall, and I thought that this book was very good. So basically, this is about a woman, an unnamed narrator, and her experience being in love, kind of an unrequited love, with a married man. So we see how she relates everything to him. If some person says something about this play, she's like, oh, he also watched this play and everything. So in a way, it was very reminiscent of how we ourselves were when we had our first crushes, first loves, and all of that when we were young. That said, it was very relatable and very interesting in that sense, and having this sort of eagle-eyed view or perspective on something that we have all gone through at one point or the other was very enlightening, to say the least. This is also a very short book, and I ended up really, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I ended up annotating quite a bit of this book. So yeah, this was a very interesting read, and I personally wanted to read this author because I knew she's got the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2022. So that really put her on my radar, because otherwise I have not read any of this author's books before. This is also translated from French, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, it was an interesting introduction to the author's works, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading the author's works, because if it's anything like this book, which explores so much of the human condition, of human emotions, with as if, you know, it's being portrayed against a mirror. If her writing is actually like that, then this is something I would really love to experience more in her other oeuvre of works. So yeah, this was a book that I really enjoyed, and I would definitely recommend it to you. Moving on, I picked up 2 books and I was reading them simultaneously. So perhaps I think I'll go with the sci-fi book first. So I picked up All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This is book 1 of the Murderbot Diaries books, and I really enjoyed it. It was a gift from my partner, so I had a great time reading it as well, and I'm definitely gonna make him try this at least. So what happens is that we follow this robot, kind of, and it calls itself Murderbot, because basically these were kind of made to murder others, but he, I think, committed a lot of murders, and so all of that. So anyway, what the main issue is in this book is that the government does not know that this robot has gained sentience. So basically it can have its own conscience, it can have its own thoughts. It is not simply a robot anymore, it has feelings, more or less. So this was very interesting, and this this unit is on an adventure, and it is with this group of humans as they are charting sort of as they're doing some sort of survey in a foreign planet, and it is there as a security detail. So it's very interesting. It has a lot of questions about free will, about conscience, about sentience, and what you really want from life versus what is planned for you, whether, you know, you really do actually have control over your life or you don't. So this was very interesting. It questioned all of that. Also, it really helps that this is quite a short read, especially because there are some terms in this book which kind of got a bit difficult for me to read, because I'm not that much of a sci-fi reader. So this was quite new for me, and that is not to say I did not enjoy it. I did enjoy it, and sometimes with the words, as you keep reading, you understand the meaning of the words in relation to the sentence or in the way in which it has been used. But that said, this was really interesting, and with that ending, I am definitely picking up book 2 very soon, because I want to see the next, what's gonna happen next. I have no idea, and I cannot wait to know more about murder bots. He calls itself murder bot. It's the name, it's denoted itself. um, so I'm really interested to see what other adventures will befall its way. Really interesting book. I think so far there are 8 books out in the series, if I'm not wrong. These are all little novellas, and I would definitely recommend. If sci-fi is a genre that intimidates you, then I think reading these kind of short stories or short novellas is very great, very good, because then you get a taste, you get to dabble with the genre without also being intimidated by the size of something really huge, or like something that is, let's say, canon in that genre. So yeah, definitely recommend this book. Again, very, very fun. So the last book that I'm going to talk about is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo. I am so glad that I finally got to this book, because I've had it for the longest time and I always wanted to read it, but I was always very worried, because I thought that the English used in this would be a version of the American AVE, basically American English, African American English version. So I was kind of worried if it would be that, and would then it would take some time for me to get used to it. But this was very, very interesting, and if you had the same sort of foolish tension like I did, then you should definitely chuck it out of the window and just pick this up, because this was a great book. This is about 12 black women, or women with African heritage, and how they are going through life. This has a lot of questions on race, on identity in terms of sex, your gender, and all of that, and how you identify, and how you personally feel being in that intersection of all of that, because you're a woman, you are black, you have you are not as, let's say, financially independent. So these characters are all in places of multiple jeopardy, so it's really interesting to see how they deal with it, considering all of these women have been are characters that have been portrayed in different timelines. So the way women's issues emerge is according to the era that the characters are, or their stories are set in. So it's really interesting to see the way feminism or women's liberation movement has, evolved over the years, and this is seen very clearly in all of the issues that these characters go with, the discussions they have. And it's very interesting to see how all of these women are more or less related to one another in some way, if not by blood, but then at least by name, or everybody appears in each other's stories, kind of, which was really interesting. And I have to say that since this is a tip that I'm going to give you, it will be very helpful if you keep a note of who is related to who and how, because when I was reaching the end, it kind of got confusing when someone's name was mentioned, and I'm like, okay, who was this, and how were they related to this person? So it got kind of confusing, but overall this was great, and I would definitely recommend you to pick it up. I think I'm still considering, but this might be a 5-star for me this year, because it was just so amazing, and I love Bernardine Evaristo's writing style. I have no idea if the author has written other works, which is a tragedy, but if they have, then I am definitely going to oh, she has. Bernardine Evaristo is the Anglo-Nigerian award-winning author of 7 other books of fiction and verse fiction that explore aspects of the African diaspora, past, present, real, imagined. Her writings also spans short fiction, reviews, essays, drama, and writing for BBC Radio. So yeah, very excited to explore more works by this author, because this is brilliant, and it has actually brought forth a lot of questions regarding race, gender, class equality, inequality, all of that. So I think yeah, this is an important piece of work. No wonder she got the Booker 2019. So yeah, definitely would recommend this book, and yeah, I hope you give it a try. Hi guys, so I ended up reading 2 more books in February, and so let me speak briefly about them. The first book is The Rajka Murders, a case that shocked India by Nirupal Guhai. This is a wonderful signed copy as well. So this is based on a real incident that happened in Assam in late 1960, 70, 69, 70, on the cusp, and this case really shocked the world, because suddenly a family disappears, and it's a prominent family. This guy is a judge in Assam, and he's a very well educated, well respected man in Assam. And so suddenly the fact that he and his family has been missing for like 6 months is really stunning. And the details of this case are so dark. So this was really surprising that something like this happened back then. And when I told my mom that I'm reading this book, blah blah blah, she's like, oh, the Rajkumar murders case. And I'm like, you know about this? She's like, huh, of course, this is such a famous, rather infamous case in Assam, so we have heard a lot about it. But yeah, this has been reimagined a bit by the author Nilpal Guhai, who himself is an Assamese writer. And I was really excited to pick up this book, and I have to say this did not disappoint. It was a bit confusing because there are dual timelines, so it did get a bit confusing with the travel element also inserted. But that said, this was well done. It was a very, how do I say this? The resolution was a bit confusing, but then I did some research after reading this book about the case and everything, and the whole case in itself is confusing. There are so many things that we still don't know for sure, and that is the most surprising thing. So yeah, I think the author did a really great job with the writers, with the characters and their character depths. And to a certain extent we'll all be left wondering why the things actually happen. I don't want to give you a hint, not even a hint, any spoilers, but why things happen the way they did and everything. It's so mysterious that even after reading this, I am still wondering. If there was only some way we could know, but I guess we'll never know. That said, this is a conclusive story in itself, so you don't have to think that this has an open ending. It does not, and I really like that, because I would have died if this was an open ending kind of book. But yeah, really good book. You should definitely give it a try. And yeah, many thanks to the author for signing it for me. Now I'm excited to read the next book by him, which is The Legend of Lachit Borfukan. And yeah, I hope you give this a try. Then I picked up a classic which has been on my TBR for ages. Everybody seems to have loved it, and it is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. This was translated from French, and it's a beautiful little book about this pilot who crashes in the desert, and then suddenly he comes upon this little boy, and he calls him the Little Prince, who's come from a different planet, and he's basically planet hopping in order to discover the secrets of the universe, the secrets of the world, and all of that. This is a very cute little book, and every chapter has a lesson, which is something that we really need to read while we live such fast-paced lives in this rat race. Basically, we forget our humanity. So this was a good book that reminded me of that, humbled me as well. And I have to say, this copy is very cute. This is from Simon & Schuster, although it's a Kappa Classics. I have to say that I think this is a book everybody can read. If you want to read classics, this is also a book you can start with, because it's easy, the language is easy, especially because it's translated also. If you want to read translated books, this is translated from French, you can give this a try. Another fabulous book, and I also made a few annotations in it. So those are the two editions I have for the wrap-up bit. So guys, these are all the books that I read in the month of February, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to keep it short and to the point, and I try to be honest and immediate about what I felt. So I hope it helps you form an opinion about whether you want to pick up these books. But at the end of the day, I'm going to end this video by saying that no matter what a bookstagrammer, a book influencer, a book talker tells you, don't completely depend on the review, because reading is subjective, especially when it comes to fiction. So you should give it a try yourself and then decide if you might like it. Just because your favorite booktuber does not like a book does not mean that you will also not like it. So think for yourself, decide for yourself, and that's all the politicking I'm going to do. But yeah, these are all the books. Thank you so much for watching. If you have not subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. And click on thumbs up to like this video. I hope to see you again very, very soon. Until then, take care. I love you all. Bye.